instant kill!
There's no rule in the world that says you can't be treated like a god just because you're a friendly neighborhood web slinger.
You serious?
Today, the TV Regent's gonna prove that with the top 20 times when Spider-Man went God mode in the movies.
Ah, shit. Had to go again.
I got it! Activate instant kill!
Remember back in 2017 when Peter Parker refused to activate his instant kill mode while trying to rescue some hostages from a kidnapper? Yeah.
Who's the guy on the left?
Matt Gargan. Extensive criminal record, including homicide. Would you like me to activate instant kill?
No, Karen, stop it with the instant kill already.
That kid was nowhere to be seen in the legendary final battle in Avengers Endgame. Bro not only activated his instant kill, but he also used a much more powerful version as it was from his Iron Spider suit. If you would have told me 10 years ago that we'd get an Avengers movie where Captain America throws Mjolnir so Spider-Man can fly through the air while getting a lift from Pepper Potts, and then Valkyrie riding a freaking Pegasus, I would have asked you to share what edibles you were on. A bunch of Chitauri goons that Spidey got rid of with that move may not be available in terms of actual numbers, but I can definitely say that it was a lot. It's kind of funny because Spider-Man's whole vibe with webs is because he doesn't want to hurt the bad guys more than he needs to. And then there's Tony Stark who's just like, this suit needs more lethal weapons. This particular moment really should be getting a lot more love than it does, but it's quite easy for people to forget about it because there's so much already happening in the grand finale of the Infinity Saga. But yeah, make no mistake, this is easily one of the most epic God moments from the MCU.
Hi, I'm Peter Parker.
Hey, Peter Parker. You got something for me?
Just because this video says God mode moments doesn't necessarily indicate that I'm only going to be covering badass displays of power like the previous entry.
Let's go!
The battle between Andrew Garfield's Spidey and Electro is the perfect example of that. This is a decent encounter between two well-matched opponents, but one of the major headaches of being a superhero is that you also have to make sure nobody gets hurt in the middle of your battle. That's what Peter Parker had to focus on here, because Electro was venting out on society more than anything else. He clearly had no issues in trying to shock everyone in attendance during their battle, but then Spider-Man activated his super slow motion Spidey sense to give us a visual spectacle. Bro managed to save everyone from getting electrocuted while also striking a pose and holding back a freaking car. This wasn't just Spidey sense, but also his speed and web shooter on steroids. If this sequence had to be played in real-time speed, I'm sure it wouldn't have lasted more than a second or two. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff which even the Flash would have applauded. Too bad none of these senses activate when you're trying to save your blonde girlfriend from cracking her back. Yeah, that was a cheap shot, but I just couldn't help myself. Tobey Maguire doesn't do God mode. God mode just naturally comes to Tobey Maguire. Unless he's in his bully phase.
Me personally, I wouldn't take this level of disrespect.
The final battle between Peter Parker and Venom was one of the few highlights that Spider-Man 3 had to offer, but it was absolutely one to remember. After being severely dominated and thrashed by the alien symbiotes and Sandman, it was only a matter of time before Spidey figured a way to take him down. The usage of the metal rods in a rapid response sequence was a brilliant play from a strategic standpoint as well as a display of abilities. Spider-Man realized his opponent was sensitive to sound and instantly sprung into action without giving him a chance to react. Funnily enough, the form that the symbiote took after Peter separated Eddie Brock from it was a lot more like Venom than the actual Venom of this film. I mean, it's hard to root for a villain who looks like a supermodel version of his comic book avatar. Anyway, Spider-Man completes the perfect victory here by finishing off his opponent with the Goblin Bomb. Well, that was until Brock decided to act like an idiot and emerge with the symbiote again right before getting blown to bits. Yeah, now that's what I call a cinematic brain fade.
Come on, Peter Tingle.
Here's another case of Spider Sense coming to the playing field, but this time it's got a tingling upgrade. It's the kind of power that puts Spider-Man's reflexes and reactivity at the same level of Daredevil while keeping his eyes closed. Yep, the man actually closed his eyes to avoid all of Mysterio's illusions, but still managed to not only dodge his drones, but also wreck all of them. My guy Spidey be dodging bullets effortlessly while letting his attacker get shot by his own drone. Now that's what I call an absolute Sigma. No, seriously, imagine the kind of aura you need to have for your opponent to be defeated by his own tools while you're just flexing another one of your upgraded skills.
Come on now, dawg. Come on, man.
It's a great response to Spidey's earlier battle against Mysterio, where he was made to look like an absolute toy. Good thing for heroes like this is that they always find a way to bounce back. This is a great battle scene in general, so I don't really care about all the conspiracy theories about Mysterio's death being an illusion or whatever. At the end of the day, we got to witness something truly special from our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. It takes a special kind of talent to be able to beat the Flash at his own game. Well, that may be a misleading statement to begin this entry, because the Flash in question here is Flash Thompson, and the game isn't super speed, it's basketball. Peter Parker's main charisma comes from the fact that he's always ready to help anyone, even the nerds.
He was the best guy around.
I'll admit that the nerd in question really should have considered the fact that she was painting on the side of the basketball court while a game was going on. I know Flash is supposed to be a huge bully and everything, but it would be extremely biased to place all the blame on him for this one, eh? Anyway, the skills on display are Spider-Man's Spidey Sense and Rapid Reflexes, both of which were delightful to watch. Bro totally humiliated the school bully in front of a live audience and went on to brutally demolish the basket itself with an epic slam dunk. Having said that, I don't think it was a wise move for a dude who had to keep his identity a secret from the rest of the world. I guess God Mode moments automatically demand grand displays. You know, when you're up against the likes of a villain like the freaking Green Goblin, you really need to be on your A game if you want to come out of the encounter alive. Spider-Man did a lot more than that during their final encounter in the first of Sam Raimi's epic trilogy. Man, the idea of Goblin smashing Peter into a building, then immediately throwing a bomb at him was such a brutal tactic. Like, he didn't even think to give him a moment to breathe, because the bomb's already in his face right as he recovers from the previous blow. It's such a well done scene because you don't expect it, which is why Peter turning it around was even more of a masterclass. The clutch and dodge followed by the final barrage of attacks on Goblin were brutal and highly effective. You could already see the bully Maguire growing inside Peter the moment Osborn brought up Mary Jane. Bro really got the Green Goblin asking for mercy towards the end of the fight. It's a great turnaround and cements how Spider-Man will never give up until the very end. Yes, Peter, Uncle Ben was your dad, and you did him real proud here.
Godspeed, Spider-Man. Oh.
Not so easy doing it on your own, is it? I can't wait to kill one more Spider-Man.
Spider-Man usually translates to Peter Parker for everyone, but Miles Morales definitely changed that notion in 2018. His version of Spider-Man was loved by audiences because of how relatable he is, and there's also the fact that he was able to step up against the same Kingpin who ended his universe's Peter. The final battle did have Miles getting totally dominated for the longest time, but all he needed to see was his dad cheering him on to turn the tables.
Get up, Spider-Man.
Bro really took a page out of the Vin Diesel handbook for winning, but ended up roasting his opponent really bad. I get that he wanted to sound super heroic and stuff by saying he'll always have his family, but I guess he forgot that Kingpin was doing this whole thing in the first place just so that he could get his own family back. Anyway, that final attack was a superb blow and managed to win Spidey the battle almost instantly. It takes a lot to beat a powerhouse like Kingpin, but when you pull out a move as powerful as that, It's almost as if divine intervention came to the rescue more than anything else.
Hey, Kingpin! Push the green button for me!
You're not dead, you've just been separated from your physical form.
My physical... What?
How are you doing that?
I have no idea.
You should not be able to do that.
Thor may be the god of thunder, Loki may be the god of mischief, and Tony Stark may be the god of sass. But after watching this scene in particular, it's safe to say that Spider-Man is the god of math. Bro not only defeated Doctor Strange, but also made maths teachers great again. Maybe Peter Parker should be running for president next time, eh? Anyway, the reason this scene stands out brilliantly is because of how helpless Spider-Man is made to appear in the beginning, only for him to turn the tables, simply because he paid attention in class. Man, if I knew math could make me this powerful, my school life would have been a whole lot different. The visuals of this scene are definitely on point, but I once again want to point out that Spidey took down the deserving Sorcerer Supreme by using his own power against him. Yeah, Strange may have been going easy on him, but that's still no excuse to be given, especially in front of such a brilliant performance. I also want to mention the part where his Spidey sense became spiritually aware and didn't let Strange get the box, even after his consciousness was smacked out of his body. That alone would have been enough for him to start his own religion.
Hey, Strange! You know what's cooler than magic? Math! Don't make me have to hurt you!
The whole idea of having a character like Spider-Man is that he's a man who acts like a spider. Now, with things like wall crawling and web slinging, you'd think that's more than enough to establish him as a literal spider dude. But the fight against the lizard was a great example for all of us. The fight didn't exactly end as a win or a loss for either side, but it did give us an iconic sequence where Spidey manages to wrap his webs around Lizard just like an actual spider. It's an overdose of webbing, but that's the bare minimum required to at least slow down the massive beast. Bro had to protect his girl after all, so he made sure to put on his most serious flex in front of her. On a side note, I want to talk about how he was able to save Gwen Stacy from a bad fall by having her bounce off his webs. Maybe he could have done the same thing in the sequel, but I guess that topic's become a little bit saturated at this point, hasn't it? Oh yeah, I also got to mention the library fight with Stan Lee peacefully listening to music in the background. I can't believe he missed such an epic encounter just for the sake of pleasuring his ears. Just like the natural world, the MCU also believes in the concept of spiders always beating ants. Captain America's Civil War gave us a massively exaggerated version of that in the airport fight scene.
Nice.
Seeing Ant-Man become a giant was definitely not what everyone else was expecting to see during such a high-stakes encounter. Luckily for Team Iron Man, they had pop culture enthusiast Peter Parker on their side, who was able to come up with a brilliant plan while taking inspiration from the Star Wars franchise. That's probably the last time that brand was of any use in any situation, but my focus remains on Spider-Man because he's the one who managed to flip the script. Sure, he managed to get crucial support from Iron Man and War Machine, but Spidey pretty much became the redeeming factor here. It was the perfect mix of skill and strategy, especially considering the fact that this is our first time seeing the MCU Spider-Man. Plus, to be honest, nothing less would have been able to take down an oversized Paul Rudd. On a side note, that evil laugh from Scott Lang after becoming a giant was as good of a villainous laugh as you'll ever hear. It's top 10 time, so you should definitely expect to see Bully Maguire leading the way. In this case though, he's more of the opponent than the star, as the actual Peter Parker does his best to free himself from the infectious symbiote. Spider-Man goes through an intense struggle and it really takes him a lot of strength to break free, along with the religious bells of the church that eventually manage to repel the symbiote from him. It's a grand scene in itself, but something occurred to me after watching it again, you know. Right after that small piece of the symbiote touched Eddie Brock's jacket, the rest of it basically gives up on Peter and goes straight for its new host. It's almost as if the symbiote just got a taste of someone with sweet, murderous hate and preferred it over the stale, bland guilt of a superhero. On top of that, Bully Maguire told Brock to find religion, and he ended up succeeding right after going to church. Yeah, I love little touches like this because they show how much thought actually went into making this film. On a side note, I still want to know how Peter was able to web swing his way back to his apartment, naked, in the rain, without anyone seeing him.
Said not to call me that!
The most badass thing any Spider-Man can do is beat the entire Spider Society, which is actively chasing him for the purpose of capture. Miles Morales can boast of this achievement thanks to his brilliant escape sequence from across the Spider-Verse.
Stop what you're doing and stop Spider-Man.
Bro was up against the most ridiculous versions of Spider-Man, ranging from a cat to a freaking Tyrannosaurus Rex. Of course, the main escape was from Miguel O'Hara, aka Spider-Man 2099, but that comes a little bit later, so I'll continue to flaunt my amazement over the Spider Society. We were given everything in this sequence, and I love how Miles was able to still avoid getting caught despite having so many variants after him at the same time. It was almost as if Bro became Spider-Man Supreme in this scene. I also found it quite funny how all the Anomaly villains were cheering for Miles rather than the entire community Spider-Men and women. This was also a case where Miles ended up denying fate, so Bro pretty much beat his own destiny here. As far as I know, only a god can be capable of doing such a thing.
Everyone keeps telling me how my story is supposed to go. Nah, I'm gonna do my own thing. Come on, Spider-Man! Oh, come on, Spider-Man!
Spider-Man finally gets to flex his strength here in Homecoming as he lifts a whole bunch of rubble, which I'm sure even peak Arnold Schwarzenegger would have been able to achieve. If I recall, Stan Lee wrote Spider-Man to show that a kid didn't have to be a sidekick, he could be a hero too. This scene perfectly captured that. Peter is just a kid, but he rises above his limitations to be the hero his city needs and deserves. What's important to note is that the poor kid was really panicking and struggling before, which is quite normal, considering he isn't exactly an experienced superhero at this point. Peter Parker isn't the Hulk or Captain America, but he has the same heart as them, so he manages to step up, just like his mentor would have wanted him to.
If you're nothing without this suit, then you shouldn't have it.
This is indeed the true reckoning of a boy who finally has turned into a man. Maybe if he'd activated this kind of strength during the Civil War airport battle, he would have given Steve Rogers a real run for his money.
I'm gonna die.
It doesn't matter if you're a normal school kid or a literal superhero, saving your classmates has got to be the most important thing on your list if you happen to be in the vicinity. That's exactly what Spider-Man does here when he saves Liz and everyone else from the Washington Monument disaster. Sure, holding an elevator may not seem like a lot, but it was a serious display of strength from a still blossoming Spider-Man, and he ended up rescuing everyone in distress, so I'm happy. I really loved how this scene showed that he's afraid of heights, which in turn reveals that he's slowly learning as he goes along his journey of becoming Spider-Man.
What's wrong? You've reached the southwest window. Why are you hesitating?
Spider's never been this high before.
After all, he's not even been on a big building in New York yet, so this is definitely a step up for him. Man, I feel really bad for Liz. She must have definitely fallen for him here. And then there's a crush on Peter Parker to add to it. I guess the whole arresting her dad situation must have made it easier for her to let him go, eh?
Hey, how you doing? Don't worry about it, I got you.
Yes!
I'd never imagined seeing an enraged Tom Holland, but I guess after learning about Zendaya's scene in the Challengers movie, he would have already had practice after this scene.
Emotional, damn it!
On a serious note though, Peter Parker's always been the type to hold back his punches. There are no reservations here as he brutally unleashes a barrage of attacks on the Green Goblin, with each blow having an intent to kill. There was no way the Goblin was going to win this fight physically, which is a great improvement for Spidey based on his last encounter against him. However, I'm glad Tobey Maguire stepped in to stop the assault, because then MCU Parker would have gone the Wolverine route, which is not something that Disney would have wanted. Well, After the success of the latest Deadpool film, they may not hesitate anymore, but even so, this was the right thing to do. Also, the people who've been following these guys for 20 years of film know just how important this moment was. Toby saving the Goblin from his own hoverboard was a full circle moment.
That's all it is, Miles. A leap of faith.
The leap of faith moment in Miles Morales' first ever proper venture into the Spider-Verse has got to be the most epic moment in the entire film. Not only is the shot of him in the middle of the sky so brilliantly done, it's followed by an intense web-slinging session which gives the audience a whole load of faith in the character. It was a great example of crafty animation as well because it enhances the overall vibe of the sequence. The background score does the exact same scene, so what I'm trying to say is that this feels more like some kind of ethereal leap. Imagine seeing a kid drag a tray with webs, then seeing him do a double flip in the air, and then hearing a few months later about a hero named Spider-Man and not knowing who he is. Those kids are really not getting the education their parents are paying for, are they? Anyway, the OG fight sequence between Peter Parker and Flash Thompson was preceded by an epic save for Mary Jade, with a sequence completely shot without CGI, although it did take 156 takes to achieve it.
Reflexes.
That was good enough on its own because of how it highlighted Spidey sense, but then the rapid dodging of Flash's attacks, which were then ended with a Saitama level punch, totally turned this into an S-tier moment. The only L in the sequence would be the audience, except for Harry. Bro was genuinely proud of his friend for defending himself.
Peter, it was amazing.
Great job, Peter. You're 98% successful.
98?
Yeah, it's kind of funny that a top 3 moment is actually Spider-Man failing to protect a whole bunch of people in a ferry. The battle against Vulture isn't what I'm focusing on either. It's the effort Peter Parker makes while trying to keep the boat together. Activating his web bombs like that was pretty cool to watch, but bro made one minor mistake, and that led to an even better display of strength. Holding the ferry together all by himself definitely reminded me of the good old Spider-Man, but yeah, he did rely on Iron Man to come and save the day, so Peter Parker doesn't get the top spot for this effort. Well, at least he tried, you know, it's the effort that counts.
Hi, Spider-Man. Band practice, was it?
You know how they say you should fight fire with fire? Well, we're in the digital age now, so the more appropriate term would be to fight electricity with electricity. Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man does exactly that here as he manages to totally destroy Electro with a little help from Gwen Stacy. Taking in an electrical charge that powerful definitely needed god-level endurance, but to reverse the effect and completely wreck Electro was a whole other ballgame. Bro even asked Electro if he was ready to give up, even though Spidey was the one getting choked. See, this is when you know you're dealing with someone a lot more capable than a standard superhero.
Spider-Man! Oh my God, this is it! Tell everyone to hang on! Regent!
I did hint at this scene in the ferry entry, and as it so happens, the only sequence from Spider-Man 2 to make it to the list claims the top spot. And why should it not? This is the most intense scene of any Spider-Man movie, as Peter Parker holds up an entire freaking train with the power of webs and ugly facial expressions. I swear this scene has given rise to more poop memes than anything else, but that shouldn't take away from the fact that this is the magnum opus of the Raimi trilogy. Tobey Maguire may have won hearts right from the first Spider-Man movie, but it was this particular moment that cemented him as a legacy character, even to this date. After all, he's the main reason why No Way Home even came close to $2 billion at the global box office. Hope you liked the video, please subscribe to the TV Regent, and here's another video that I know you'll enjoy.